Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we have another video from another channel. This is the Carolina Gamer. Now over on his channel, he has not only a focus on playthroughs, particularly solo playthroughs, but he also creates his own automas or solo AIs. And then he puts up videos showing you how to use them. So it's pretty awesome, the stuff he has over on his channel. Be sure to go check that out. Click on the link in the description below so you can see what all he has on his channel. Here we go.
Welcome back. I have been busy designing a new automa. This time it is for parks. If you're aware of my variants / automas, you'll know that I do have a Ranger Ron variant out there currently that I know a lot of people like. But one, it was not compatible with the latest expansion just released called Nightfall for parks, and two, some people found it too easy. It introduces a 12-card automa deck, and you'll also get 3 reference cards. You'll get an updated playmat, as well as a 1-page rules summary and a quick reference action sheet, along with a little bit of more information about who Ranger Ron really is. As I said, this automa is compatible with the Nightfall expansion, but you can also play the base game by itself with these cards as well. So in this video, we are going to go over setup and how to play, and I will be showing setup as if you were playing with the Nightfall expansion. So for setup, it is 99% the same. You're going to deal out your 3 Parks cards. I also have the new Parks cards in the Nightfall expansion shuffled in here. I go ahead and dish out your 3 gear cards. We have gone ahead and made our trail and put weather tokens on that trail. We have put our tents on that trail. I have given myself a canteen. I have also given myself and Ranger Ron a wild token per the Nightfall rules. I have the new year cards up here, and I've already given myself one. I've went ahead and given Ranger Ron one as well. I don't know what that is. It's face down, and it will score at the end of the game. I've also set up our campsite actions just like you would in a normal 2-player game. I've shuffled the automa deck, and now you need to decide which difficulty do you want to play on. So per the rules, as well as this quick reference guide, if you want to play on easy, then you, the player, get to start with both the camera and the first player marker. For any of the other ones, medium or hard, Ranger Ron is going to start with the camera and the first player marker. Additionally, if you play on hard, Ranger Ron gets a second year card that you would place face down, and he will score both of those at the end of the game. So let's move on to actually how you play the game. So to start off, when Ranger Ron activates, all you're simply going to do is turn over the top card of the automa deck. And you're going to see that there are 3 sections to it: actions, campsite actions, and at the trail end. If you're playing with only the base game, ignore this middle section. You won't need that at all for this game. But if you are playing with the Nightfall expansion, you will need this for when Ranger Ron lands on a trail location with a tent on it. For the action space, this is going to tell the automa how it's going to move. So if this is the one it drew, it's going to look at the frontmost hiker, which is the one furthest along the trail, and it's going to move it 1 space. After it does that, it's simply going to take a wild resource from the supply and place it on its player mat. It's going to score points for them at the end of the game. So in this example, it says, let me look at the front ranger on the front ranger on the trail. And the pink is going to represent Ranger Ron. And you can see that both pink rangers are on the same trail location. So at this point, it really doesn't matter. You just pick one and you simply move them 1 spot down the trail per this card number. But let's say I was at this trail location. Well, it would try to move 1, and it will never land on a spot that you're at. It wants to keep its space from you. So it will just simply move to the next open trail location on the board. So let's say if I had 2 guys here and it went to move 1, it would move all the way here. Ranger Ron never collects weather tokens. He will always discard them back to the supply. So when he lands on a trail location with a weather token, he will simply take it and remove it from the game back to the supply. This is a difference between Ranger Ron 1.0 and 2.0, so I just wanted to point that out. I will say though, if Ranger Ron lands on a tent site that has a weather token, just like in a 2-player game with the Nightfall expansion, if he takes the campsite action, if he removes this from the trail location and places it over here, he does not remove the weather token from the board. That's the same as a 2-player game, a normal 2-player game for the expansion. But he will never collect weather tokens. He will always discard them back to the supply. And the only times he does gain tokens, he will gain wild tokens, and they will come, the Automa deck will tell you when to gain them. So let's continue on with this card. So let's say, for example, Ranger Ron was at the forest, and then I drew this card. It says, move the front hiker 1 spot. So he would look, and here's the front hiker, here's his back hiker. He would move his front hiker 1 spot. And if you're playing with the expansion, you need to look at the middle section if it is a campsite action. So this says, there's a campsite action to place the tent on the campsite board. And then he gains the highest park card showing currently out there. So what does that look like? He simply takes this, he places it to block the campsite board, and then he takes the highest park card showing. Well, you have the highest value park card showing. Well, you have a 4.1, a 4.1, and a 3.1. Well, which one does he always take? Ranger Ron will always take from left to right. So in this case, since there's a tie for the highest victory point total card, he will take this one and add it to his player mat, and he's going to score points for that at the end of the game. Let's say, for example, that he moved 1 onto this campsite, this tent location, and it says, hey, place a campsite on the campsite board. He goes and to place it, there's already 1 there. So now what do? Well, you always go from left to right, and you can circle back around. So if there's not 1 here, so it will go here. There are some cards that will have campsite actions with an R or an M or an L. All those simply mean are left, middle, and right. So, and then the last one is the campsite board, which is this little square that represents this board. Some of the other actions it could take when it goes to a campsite after it places its tent, because whenever it places its tent, it's not doing the actual action over here. That's just too fiddly to have to worry about. So you simply look at your card, and it's going to block a space that you can't go to now, and then it's going to do this action. So like this one says collect the H. H in this Automa deck refers to the highest. So collect the highest available gear card. So looking here, there's a 2-star, 2-star, 2-star. They're all 2-star. If there had been a 3-star, it would have taken that. But since they're all 2-star and there's a tie, just like with the park card, it's going to take the highest available from left to right, and it would just add this to its player area. It's not going to score points for gear cards unless it has the one year card that scores based off of gear cards. It might block a spot and collect a gear card. It might block a spot and just simply gain a photo from the supply and add it to its photo album. And it does not have to have the camera to do that. He just simply takes a photo. He could possibly gain the first player marker. Once again, another gear card. He'll collect the highest card, park card showing, another photo. He does not take any campsite action. So if he were to land on this tent space, let's say, and then he says, okay, I landed on tent. I need to look at this section. It's blank. That means he's taking the actual trail location action. So in that case, he would just simply remove this weather token, and he would leave the tent there. One other action that it could take while it's doing a campsite action is to take another year card. You simply take a year card, don't look at it, place it face down on his player mat, and that's another chance that he has to score victory points at the end of the game. So those are all the campsite actions. Going back to the top actions, sometimes the hikers are just going to move. They're not going to gain wild resources. Other times, they could move, and when they move, after that, they're going to gain the camera and then take a photo, and it simply takes a photo from the supply and puts it in its player area. So these top actions are all going to have movement. It could possibly gain a wild token, and it could possibly gain the camera and take a picture. Ranger Ron, if he has the camera at the end of the season, never takes a photo at the end of the season. He only gains photos from his Automa deck. So that's 2/3 of the card, and if you're playing with the base game, you only even have to worry about the campsite actions. Lastly, we have the bottom third of the card, and this only comes into play when Ranger Ron would move his hiker down the trail, and it moves him to this the trail end. So if that's the case, let's say we drew this one, and it says move the frontmost hiker 3. So let's say that was what it looked like. Okay, this is his front hiker. He would move it 3. Okay, so that moves him to the trail end. And then you're simply going to take the action here at the bottom. It says he collects the rightmost park card. So this is left, middle, right. He would take that card and gain it, and he would score victory points for it at the end of the game. He's never going to have to trade in resources for it. He's never going to get any of the instant abilities. He's simply going to take it and put it on his player mat. You have H, once again, that just stands for highest. So it'll take the highest value point card out there. You have left, you have middle. You also have the first player. So if this is the case, when he moved, he would move to this reserve a park space and take the first player. Let's say I had already done that this turn. I had already reserved a park and taken the first player. If he were to draw this, when he got there, he wouldn't reserve a park. He never reserves parks, but he does take this back from me, so it's never safe. The last action it could possibly take when it goes to the trail end, he simply takes the rightmost spot on the buy gear card, a trail end spot, and this is a 4-player game. So in a 2-player game, he would go to right here first, blocking that space from me, and he would collect the highest gear card showing. So this is a way to help cycle some of the gear cards, as well as gain him victory points if he happens to draw the year card that is based off gear cards. All you're going to do when it's Ranger Ron's turn is going to flip over the top card of the deck. You're going to move either the front or back hiker. Once one of his hikers reaches the trail end, the one left on the trail is now considered both the front and back hiker. So you're simply going to flip over a card, you're going to move him, possibly he'll gain the camera and a possible resource. If he lands on a tent action, he's going to look at the campsite actions if you're playing with the expansion and do those actions, blocking spaces that you can now not go to. And if his movement would take him to the trail end, you're simply going to take the action at the very bottom, which most of the time is collecting a park card. Once again, whenever park cards are taken, they're immediately put back. It's not like the original solo game that came in the box where if you took one, it doesn't get replaced. No, whenever someone takes a park card, you refill it. At the end of the season, you're going to reshuffle the Automa deck, and then you're going to replenish just as you would in a 2-player game. Once the end of game has triggered, you're going to go ahead and score. At the end of the game, you're going to score Ranger Ron just like you would in a normal multiplayer game, except for these few instances. If you're playing on easy, he's going to get 1 point for having the first player marker. He's also going to get 1 point for every 3 wild tokens in his player area. And then if you're playing on medium, if he has the first player marker, he's going to score 2 points. And he's going to get 1 point for every wild token on his player area. 1 point for every 2 tokens left. And on hard, if he gets the first player marker, if he finishes the game with it, he gets 3 points. And for every 1 token, he's going to get 1 point for the wild resources on his player area. In case of a tie, Ranger Ron wins. You're supposed to be better than him, not the same. So you want to make sure that you do not tie. Lastly, I'd just like to point out that on the back of this rules is a handy reference sheet for all the different actions you could possibly see on the Automa deck. So you could quickly reference this and say, okay, that's what it does. With that said, you have everything you need to play Parks with Ranger Ron 2.0. Hopefully this provides a greater challenge. And if you weren't a fan of the Beat Your High Score variant found in the box, then hopefully this gives you another way to play the game. No hate on Beat Your High Scores. They're not my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people like them. So if that's your thing, then hopefully this just gives you another avenue to play. If you are interested in actually seeing how this is played, I know someone just teaching the rules is helpful, but seeing it actually played can be more helpful sometimes. Just like with my other Automas, I always do a how to play video and a full playthrough so you can see it in action. And with that, if you have any feedback, you can post on BGG or Facebook or my YouTube channel, and I hope you have fun with it.